I'll probably just go ahead and get started talking right now. My name's Ryan Finn. I think you guys all know me. Derek, I got to meet you this morning. I've been in the Market Center now for about 13 years and grown my business. My history before I got here, I spent 6 years in the Marine Corps Reserves, and I became a carpenter. And I was a carpenter for about 15 years in the Union. And I blew my back out. My doctor said, "Nice job. You might want to do something different with your life. You can probably finish this career as a carpenter and retire at 52, which would be in 3 years." He goes, "But your quality of life is going to be really crappy at that point. So you should do something different." And so that's what I ended up doing. I switched careers. It took me a year to do it. And I tried to do this part-time. And any agent that's tried to do this part-time, oh my gosh, it is a struggle when you're working two different jobs, and especially when you're working a W-2 job that requires you to be at the place of business to earn income. And so it took me a while to make that breakaway. And actually, I got laid off right before Thanksgiving. And the contractor I was working for at the time, he apologized to me because it was right before Christmas. And I told him, his name was Chris. And I said, "You know what? This is probably the best thing for me," because I just couldn't do both. I immediately took 3 listings the next week, and I never looked back since then. And he has become a client since then also. So I sold a couple of properties for him too. So it was the best thing. It really was. It didn't feel like it at the time. I was losing a job. I got 2 little girls, mortgage. You know, you guys understand the difficulties in trying to change careers. So I commend you when you do change those careers. Steve, you've been swinging the whole time, man. I know coming into this thing, and we've got Christian. You're growing a family, and so doing those types of things, it's very difficult. So that's why I joke about, is it Monday or is it just the next day we're going to work? And sometimes it feels like we have to work all the time. We have to be on call all the time, be available all the time so that we can be ready to do business all the time. It's like, so how do we control that? Well, the way we're going to control it is to make sure we build a big enough pipeline to be able to select which buyers and sellers we choose to work with. And that's kind of, we'll go through some of that today, because you'll hear some language. I'll go through some of these scripts today, and or these objections. And sometimes the answer to the objection is, "We're not a good fit," or "This probably isn't the market for you," or whatever it may be. And you're like, "Oh, well, you don't get the business that way." Well, you have to look at your opportunities. And if you spend a lot of your time with somebody, and I'm pretty direct, guys, I think you know me by now. If you spend your time with somebody that's like a boat anchor, they're going to drag you to the bottom, right? You're not going to succeed at that point. So you have to make a business decision on whether or not you want to stay with that or not. I have another appointment I just set at 5 p.m. this morning with a seller to re-meet with them, and they have a house that's been on the market now for over 300 days. That's probably a little bit past average days on market, wouldn't you think? And they haven't sold their house yet, and they're upset. And I brought them an offer within less than 1% of full asking, and they didn't take it, and they highly regret that at this point. So we're going to relive that a little bit and make sure their motivation's high. So again, qualifying these people to make sure that, one, they're motivated, they want to work with you, and they're willing to listen to you. So again, nobody's impervious to this, and so you just have to work through it. So how we do that is we prepare ourselves with these objections, and what we'll do is basically, anybody here ever cheat on a test? Okay, just me. Imagine not cheating on a test. Imagine though, if you could get all the answers to all the questions for the test prior to getting the test. I never really cheated. I'm a C student, guaranteed. I'm a C student. But imagine if you had all the answers to all the questions prior to getting the test, right? And then all of a sudden test comes out and you're just like, and you don't even have to think about it. You have rehearsed, you know what the answers are. Well, that's all this is. That's all I work on doing, is being able to prepare myself to have the conversation before I have the conversation. So when this question or one of these 20 objections come up, I already have an answer for what they're going to ask me, and I no longer need to think about what the answer is. I'm able to listen to them. And that's where you're going to win the most with your clients, is when you're listening to what they're saying. So have you ever had a conversation with somebody and you're thinking about how you're going to respond as they're speaking to you because you're trying to think about how you want to do that? Imagine that you didn't have to do that. So have anybody ever seen that movie with Bradley Cooper? It's called Limitless. Seen that one? That's an intriguing opportunity right there, all right? That guy was smart, all because of a pill. The guy took a pill, and it allowed him to understand things at a high rate. So it was interesting, but something like that to where you could almost forecast, you knew where they were going before they actually got there. So you're like playing chess, they're playing checkers, and you're able to respond. It allows you to slow things down too. So when you communicate with them, that you're communicating on their level and you're not having to talk over them, or you're not offended when they say something because you know what they're going to say and it's okay. Don't be offended by it. They're going to say certain things. The other piece that we work on too when we're working with clients is they're going through something, right? Anybody ever work with somebody getting divorced, right? It's terrible, right? There's a lot of hurt in their life. And I may or may not be working with somebody that I'm going to meet on Friday, and they're having troubles. Things are not going well in their world. And here we are standing right in front of them, trying to help them solve this problem. And it's a bunch of money to be divided, and they're fighting over that too. And how do we insert ourselves into that, keep the peace, and make that transaction happen? I'll tell you how we do it. We charge extra. That's how we do it. No, we don't charge extra, but we should. That's a good idea that we should charge extra to do some of that, because some of the hours we got to put in on that, right? All right. So what I want to do to make the most of this hour is to be able to go over these objections, because a lot of times I find we're going to run into these things. These are 20 of the most common ones, but at the same time, I asked for you to bring your objections as well. So I want to honor that. I will start right there with you guys. If you have objections, or if you're hitting a wall, if you're calling clients or calling in your database and you're struggling with something, I want to go over that as well, because like that's what if we could get a little bit better today, if we could have a little bit stronger conversation, if we could impact the relationship and grow and strengthen the relationship with our potential clients or our database, that's where you're going to win. We run about, I think like 90% of our business comes out of our database. So repeats and referrals is where we get our business. And so my strength is there. I'm not a big cold caller. I did cold call when I first started because no one liked me. I think I have 3 people that like me now, but I started there because that's where it was needed, because I was Ryan the carpenter and I wasn't real estate Ryan yet, and they needed to know real estate Ryan. So I was trying to, like, how do you do that? Well, just get into activity. Well, this is the activities I got into. I learned that if I sounded like a salesperson, then I could probably be a salesperson. And so I worked on this. I actually had a title company rep come down and taught a class, and he said, I'll work with you on your scripts. I'll make phone calls with you. And I was like, okay, I didn't know anything. And so I took him up on the offer. I'm like, you really will do this? He goes, yep. And I jumped in the next week with him, made my first phone call in front of him. He's like, here, call him. And I got my script in front of me, and I got my phone, my old computer, and I call the person. I don't know who they are. And they pick up the phone. I go through the script as quick as possible. And I get off the phone. I'm like, how was that? And he goes, that was absolutely freaking horrible. He goes, do it again. And so I did it again. Again, I roll through the script really quick, and I get through it. I fumble my lines. I trip over my words. I get off the phone again. I go, how was that? And he goes, not much better. He goes, keep working on it. And so this guy picks up the phone. He makes the next phone call and sets a freaking appointment, right? Well, later down the road, as our relationship grew, that was a one-off. That hardly ever happens, but it just happened to work really well for him that day. One call, one appointment. That does not happen. However, the repetition of making those calls and going through those scripts and practicing those things will make the difference. And one of the ways I practiced when I started as well, when back in the old days when we had CD players in cars, I would put my little CD in of my scripts from Diana Kokoska, who used to coach MAPS coaching here and actually created the Bold program, which Shelby's been through. Who else has been through Bold here? You've been through Bold as well? Glenn, you've been through Bold as well? Okay, great. So great class. That class helped me tremendously kind of break through. And I always said I'm not smart enough to be afraid, so I just do the thing and be okay looking a little bit silly at first. And that's part of it. So that's what we did. But that class helped a lot. It came with CDs originally back in the day, and I popped my little CD in there and I would repeat my scripts. And she would say the line, and then you would say the line. And if there was a camera rolling in my vehicle when that happened, I probably looked like a moron or at a stoplight. But what I was doing was programming some of these responses that I'm able to give these buyers and sellers now to help them make a decision whether or not they want to work with us, or that they're check their motivation, or be able to solve a problem for them to get them to the next step. So with that, I spoke for 7 minutes now without stopping. What objections did we bring any today? Do we bring any objections, or we just want to roll with the class? Christian, do you have any that you're getting nailed on? I can think of some. Okay, I want to hit those, and like I said, they're not all like you're going to magically solve the problem, and they're going to go, yes, let's work together and sign the document, and we're going to work with you at the price you talked about. Some people have to feel the pain of not selling, or not being able to buy in this market, or making an offer in this market. And that's a tough one too. When you're a buyer's agent and they want to make an offer that's 30,000 below asking on day one, I'm like, oh, hang on, cowboy. That's just at the market. Here's the data. It's priced right. There was 10 business cards inside this house. Somebody else is going to make an offer because Shelby listed it and she's going to go into multiple offers, and I know what's going to happen. So how do we overcome that? They're not all going to listen to you, so you're going to get shut out. The tough part is you have to break that meeting, go back to your office, write up the offer, have them sign it, have a conversation with an agent, and you're not getting the house already. And then you wait for the answer to come back, and then you deliver the bad news and like, oh, well, we'll try again next week or tomorrow. And you go out time after time. And how many of those offers will you be willing to write for somebody that are not going to be appropriate for the market that we're in? So those are some of the things we have to determine, because how many hours do you want to show houses, write offers, and get rejected? Oh, that's a gut punch, right? And if you're like me, I like to win. I'm competitive. I really like to win. And I like to win for my clients if they choose to, but they have to choose to win. And so the choice for some of the buyers out there, and we tell them this, like, this may not be your market right now, or we may need to look at another area of the market. And they're like, what is that area? I'm like, that's the area of the houses that didn't sell in the first 20 minutes. Let's look at those houses that have been on the market for 3 weeks. Let's shop those houses. Then we have an opportunity. Or, the type of house you're looking for, we need to look at like grandma and grandpa's house. It's dated a little bit, but it's still functional. We can get something like that. The market may not love that as much. So those are some of the things that we do to have those conversations to help our buyers make the decision. Like they're looking in an area they probably shouldn't be. So Christian, you got one for me?
So a lot of outside of Sphere, I'm looking at my next sources. One of them is FSBOs.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say, obviously, I know the main reason for most people is commission.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of what else is next besides commission.
Yeah, sure.
So if I was a FSBO,
yeah,
and I told you I was going to try it on my own for 30 or 60 days,
mm-hmm.
What would your value look like during follow-up? Because again, a lot of times,
yeah,
they know the days of market are increasing. So if they don't eventually sell, they're going to go to an agent. What would your value look like to a FSBO after you met with them?
Absolutely, yeah.
Try to stay like close proximity, great value, and be the agent of choice for that.
Yeah. How do I not? I'm really direct, guys. Sorry. How do I not sound like a jackass every time I call you? Like, hey, you sold your house yet? Right. You ready? You ready? I'll come over right now with the paperwork. We'll sign it, right? Yeah, that doesn't work very well. And so I think the biggest thing is letting them know what you're going to do and then do exactly as you say you're going to do. And so this is all stuff that somebody else taught me this. So I'm not recreating the wheel by any means. And so I'm going to let them know that, one, Christian, I'm going to call you again next week. And I'm going to check in with you. This is a tough market, all right? It's not quite like the market we saw in the past. And how many houses have you sold, by the way? FSBO. FSBO. You're the FSBO guy now. No, as the owner of the FSBO. You're playing the owner guy. No. You play the owner of the house. You're the FSBO guy. I'm the agent. How many houses have you sold? This is the first one? You've done one? Oh, so you've got a little bit of experience. Fantastic. And when was that one? Fantastic. So you would agree with me that this market is not going to quite be like that market, correct?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a different set of game that we're playing right now. So this is the thing that I'm going to do. So if I meet with you and I show you what we can do, and I show you that we've got 126 agents at our brokerage, and you're sitting right in the mecca of where we actually sell real estate, and the best opportunity for you to get the most money in the shortest amount of time is to work with our office, because we sell over 800 houses every year. Some years, depending on the market, we'll sell over 1,000 houses a year. And that's what you do want, right, is to sell your house. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to call you once a week and check in with you. All right. And I want to see how things are going. I'm not interested in how many showings you get, but what I am interested in is how many offers you get every week. All right. And if you don't get any offers that week, that's okay. And then after that, I also want to see if you're going to be holding your house open that weekend or not on your own, because I can send buyers that way possibly. And if you're not interested in doing an open house, that's fine. But then I'm also going to ask you if you're ready to hire me yet as your agent. I'm just going to call you every week, all right, and check in with you. But I'm also going to let you know what's going on with the market too. I can do that as well. Would you like that? And when I tell you how many other houses are selling and yours isn't, it's not going to take long for you to realize that. You're going to see that hiring an agent's the best opportunity. So that's where you're going to go with that, is just help them, give them information. And they want the most exposure, right? Because you would believe that if you got more exposure, you could probably have a bigger pool of buyers. And if you ever had a bigger pool of buyers, you could probably imagine that a bigger pool of buyers would be willing to pay more money for your house. Could we assume that? Fantastic. So if I could get you a bigger pool of buyers, say 4 times as many as that than you could create on your own, would you prefer that?
Potentially, I'm just not, ready to list yet.
Fantastic. Why else are you not? Because so you don't want more buyers in your house. Why else are you not ready to list yet?
Just commission. I can do it on my own.
Fantastic. Yep. Do it. The commission is always a big one, guys, right? Because that's going to be the biggest thing. Because all they can do, because everybody can add 6%, right? That's real easy. Now, more than likely, you're probably going to pay a buyer's agent to come look at the house and sell your house for you, right?
I'd like to not, but
Okay. So you want to shrink the amount of people that are willing to see your house then even smaller then by not paying a commission?
They went last time.
Well, that was last time. This is this time. Welcome to this market, right? So again, you can be obstinate with me at a point where we're not going to get along real well, but at the same point, what I'm trying to show you is you do want to sell your house. So here's the other angle. All right, you're driving down now. You're driving down. You're battening down your hatches. You're like, up yours, dude. I've got this. I know what I'm doing. Great. Why are you selling your house in the first place anyway?
I feel like this is like side role play.
Yeah.
It just feels like it reaches a point where, like, I've made good points where I feel like I've done those things. I've asset, motivation, timeline. They've sat on market. It feels like it's ran its course, and I'm trying to again show the values. Like, hey, the average days on market is 30. You're at 30. I talked about your motivation, timeline, address commission. I've even maybe met with you and talked about price. Potentially could work with you on, like, increase it a little bit. I think we could maybe get a piece of the market if we increase the price a little bit. Like, I've done all these things. At the time, it's like, oh, it's still just not like ready yet.
Yeah, you haven't felt the pain yet. You need some more pain first. But what I want to do is get you to the dream, because obviously the house that you're in is not the house you want to be in. Where do you want to be? Where are you moving to?
This house is my mother-in-law's house, so
I'd get out too. Sorry, babe. What's that?
the house is what I've got mine. Like, she helping his mother-in-law sell her house, so he's not even the owner of
Where's she moving to when she moves out of that house?
the grave. I don't know.
Because find out where she's going. Because if it's his house, he may not be that motivated to sell it. You think about it, right? I kid. All right. But you got to find the motivation, or what's happening, what's causing that to sell. And if you're living in that house, which that's what I was assuming when I was having the conversation with you, then I got to find out, where are you moving to? Are you moving to Miami? Are you moving to Sheboygan? Where are you going to? And why is that important to you? And when do you want to be there, right? And what happens if this house doesn't sell and yet you still need to be there? If it's for a job or if it's for family and you can't get there this year, what does that look like? What's the cost of that? And let me break that down for you. It's real easy to do. And so when you start negotiating with a buyer's agent, they are going to ask for a commission. And then they're also going to want to negotiate with you. And real quickly, they're going to chew up more than the 6% that we're talking about right now. And so the best option that you have is actually to expose your house to a market that's pretty fruitful, but we've got to get it at the right price, but to get it exposed and to market it at a level that we can attract those buyers in here and get you the buyer we want. So that's what we want to do. But if he's got a mother-in-law's house that he's selling, he may not be that motivated to sell it. So that one might be futile for you. So don't beat down that door too long. Again, make the choice. Make a 2-minute phone call once a week and see how they're doing, and then get off the phone. Because if you spend 20 minutes a week on that phone call with that person, you're not getting anywhere. And I could tell it, you're beating your head just a little bit on that one. So again, not every FSBO wants to actually sell. Some just want to test the market, right? And see if they can get what they can get, or they don't want to pay for anything, but they want great service, and they got to work through that. So the pain of that. So they've been at 30 days. Let them set for another 30 days. Keep calling them once a week and check in with them. Like, oh, I saw the house down the street sold just last week or whatever. Yeah. has your motivation changed? Just keep checking in with them, show them the value, and see when they're ready to actually get it on the market and get it sold. So I had a good friend that wanted to go FSBO for a while, and they put their house on the market in a great neighborhood. And did they price it right? No. Did I tell them what to price it at? Absolutely not, because that's not my responsibility. That is their choice. Did they price it high? Yes, they did. Did it set? It absolutely did. Did he call me? He finally did after about 60 days. He goes, I'm tapping out on this. The bad part about that is he already exposed it to the market. He did it really crappy. His pictures were junk. He was overpriced. So we were trying to come in and recapitalize this and still sell it very close to what he was trying to sell it for. And now we're adding in commission. And so we ended up doing that. But was that a little bit tougher? Yeah, it took us probably, I don't have to go back and look at it, but it probably took us 6 weeks to sell his house in a market that probably should have sold it in like 2 weeks. So it was pretty difficult in that time frame, but we still got it done. But when somebody exposes their house to the market in a FSBO manner, depending on how they do it and the interest level that they get, if the price is inappropriate or the marketing's wrong, the photography is not great, it makes it difficult for you to go in and recast that listing. But it can be done. It definitely can be done. Open houses, if they're not doing those and you do one of those, then definitely, do a lot of marketing around that. Get in the neighborhood, knock on doors, get people over there to the house, that type of thing. But again, there's opportunity there. But FSBOs, they can be difficult, but you just got to stay with them. So it's basically persistence. Just stay with them long enough to where they wear down, and eventually. And I've sold a few FSBOs in my career, and they just like, yeah, can you come over Tuesday? I'm like, yep, I'll be there at 10, and they'll list with you right then. So that's not really a listing appointment. You're just assisting them and giving them enough information for them to decide that they can't do it on their own. Because do they want to show their house every night? Do they want to show their house every weekend? What about the buyers that want to see your house at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday? Are you able to come home and show them the house? No, they can see it when I'm available. Well, that's going to hurt your ability to get your price again. So again, that's some of it. So does that help at all, Christian, on that? Yeah, just 2-minute phone call on that guy right there and then on to the next one. That's what I would recommend. Well, we can get to that too. Like, have you qualified these people? I mean, what are the chances that two axe murderers are in the same house, right? Right. So that's the idea around that. Like you don't know who's coming into the house, right? And so we have qualified people. We've never had anything go missing from a house that we've listed. So that's something to consider as well. So you can get into safety as well. So, all right. Any other top of mind objections we're getting? All right, I'll rip through some of these then. I'm happy to do that. Okay, there's my awesome PowerPoint. I didn't make this, by the way. This was done for me. All right. Hey, we're waiting for interest rates to come down. Anybody here? We're waiting for interest rates to come down? Fantastic. What are we waiting for interest rates to come down to? We'd love to see them in the 3s again, wouldn't we? Heck, I'd love to see them in the 5s, right? How long do we want to wait for that? Because amazingly enough, interest rates were great in 2021, right? But prices were sky high in 2021 too, weren't they? Multiple offers. I mean, there's fist fights on the lawn for who was going to get the house, right? All that stuff. But imagine this. Houses actually sell for more in 2026 than they did in 2021 with all those multiple offers. So while you were waiting for interest rates to come down, prices continue to go up. So how much more equity do you want to lose by waiting for interest rates to come down? Obviously, you can buy down the rate. In some cases that you might be able to negotiate. I've spoke with a lender, and sometimes lenders will buy down the rate, and obviously you'll adjust the pricing on it. But instead of just coming down $10,000, you might be able to buy the rate down with the $10,000 and be able to get them into the 5s possibly. So there's some opportunities there, but waiting for interest rates to come down is not going to be the solution if they're just trying to save money. Overall, long-term wise, if they're investors, they're probably getting their capital hard money, or they have cash anyway, so they're not getting a conventional type of loan. Some might be, but for the most part, we're talking about owner-occupied homeowners, and they're just not satisfied with interest rates. Trust me, I pulled a construction loan October of 23. And you can go back. It was the highest freaking month I think we ever hit. And I work in this market. But that was the time we were going to build a house, right? So you pulled a loan. And sure enough, we got nailed on that. And it's just part of it. But what did we do? We watched the rates, and I even pulled an arm. I'm good with that. I'll play that game. And so I'm at a 5.75 now. So instead of 8.5. happy with that. So again, talk to them about that, buying the rate down. That's an opportunity you can negotiate as well. But waiting for interest rates to come down is not going to be it, because they think affordability is going to be there. When interest rates come down, they go into their little computer and they do the numbers. I'm like, well, if the rate was only like 4.75, then my payment would only be this. Well, you know how many other thousands of people will enter the market when they see that, and it will take this price point over here and it will take it that way, and affordability will come. Imagine that enough that it stays right there, that affordability piece. And what happens is when the affordability gets out of line, and we saw that in, when did we see that? June of 22, interest rates were really starting to climb, and the buyers started pumping the brakes a little bit, because we looked at, do you guys remember when we ran the numbers, like how many transactions were per year? Like in 2021, we did 6.1 million units across the country, right? And then in 2022, we did 5.1 million units across the country. So we dropped by a million. But imagine this, for the first 6 months of 22, we were pacing at 6 million units for the year. On the back half, the brakes got hit, and we paced out at like 4 million. We split the difference right there at 5.1 is where it averaged out to, and then we dropped down to 4.1 in 23. So because of that, the buyers were like, yeah, we're not playing this game anymore. And so that's when price points started to level out a little bit more. But sellers still liked this. They love this, because when they were selling, they were getting that money they wanted. Well, they ended up seeing that they weren't getting that money anymore, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. So days on market started happening, those types of things. So anyway, interest rates. Anything else with interest rates?
I hate to even say this because I like to give Todd on my business, but I just had a buyer that, and it worked great, and I talked with him, and I think Chase is who I think it was.
Mhm.
If she moved her 401k, her retirement investments to them, and they're really reputable, managed it, and she got low fives, locked 30-year for moving it to there. It was like seamless. It closed easy. So sometimes it's like if that's, my vast experience. If you, I just thought, wow, that really helped that objection. It was like very legitimate, because I did a lot of research. I probably had Stephanie look at it with me too, because I was like, is this real? And talked to them, and it closed beautifully. I just saw her Sunday.
That's a business decision right there. And you absolutely make a business decision. You let your client do that, though. Don't make that for them, because that's floating on that line of enticement right there, in my opinion. Good.
Well, she was getting one. She was telling me about it. Yeah. And then she got the approval. I talked to the loan officer. It was like because then I talked to Todd. I'm like, this is impossible. He's like, that's impossible.
Yeah, so she moved a retirement account in with them, basically.
She has some retirement from the Air Force and from when she was married previously, but it's not like it was by any means a lot of money. But there was if you move a little bit, they cut it that much. If you move more, she got the full thing, and I bet she didn't move up the grand.
Well, it's still good. I mean, if somebody's going to put 100 grand in my bank account so I can invest it for them, or lend it 9 times, so I can lend 9 times on whatever I have in my bank, guess what? I'm going to make a lot more than whatever that interest was on that loan. And so that's the thing. That's a neat idea. And is it one, if you're willing to do it, you absolutely can. I don't know if I'm the bank owner doing that, because there could be some repercussions down the road on something like that, but that's their business, not ours.
Somebody was managing our money.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Anything about it but I was shocked. It was such a good deal.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Absolutely. I have 40 of these to go through, so we'll be done by, no, just kidding. We won't get through them all, I can guarantee you. Home prices are going to drop. No, they're not. We're just looking. You should keep looking. I'm just kidding. We're just looking. All right. Fantastic. So are we running an open house right now? You ever run an open house and come in? We're just looking. Fantastic. Sunday, right? And so how did you respond to we're just looking?
Well, they had a couple different ones. I just dug into their story. I'm like, oh, so what's your motivation basically? Why are you looking now? Sort of did those scenarios.
Yeah.
And I don't remember specifically because I didn't have a great script, but I just kept digging, like, so why are you looking now? Like, what's trying to get them to kind of define, and then responding to that. But I don't know. I got one contact I'm following up with them, but I'm throwing everything with the kitchen sink at them, so I feel like that's not the best.
Asking direct questions
Yeah.
is the best way when you meet new people. And it's not in a rude way,
No.
but it's just in a way that let's get down to business, right? And you like to warm people up and, hey, how are you? Yeah, exactly. No one cares about me, right? I know that. No one cares how interesting my story is, where I've been, how many houses I've sold or didn't sell. It doesn't matter. They do not care, right? They care about that they have 2 hours on a Saturday to go look at houses. And we have to determine that, is this what they do every Saturday because they like to look at houses? Or are they expecting another child? Or are they looking for their upgrade? Like, what is the story? So exactly, hey, we're just looking. Like, fantastic. What exactly are you looking for? Have you been in this neighborhood before? Do you currently live in the area? Like, start asking certain direct questions to these people to find out about them. If they stonewall you, it's like, fantastic. Let me know if you need anything, and then go help the next person, right? Again, limit your time with people that aren't interested in working with you or don't show interest in working with you, all right? Doesn't mean you can't help them eventually. Get their contact information if you can. Ask them, hey, who do you consult with around your real estate needs? Not who's your agent. Who do you consult with? They'll be like, huh? Yeah, exactly. You don't. And I know that. So they'll tell you, oh, we have an agent. Fantastic. Who's your agent? I'll give them a call and let them know you stopped by today. They don't know who their agent is. Maybe 1 in 10 will. So that's their line. But when you call them on their bluff like that and you catch them off guard because you've had this conversation before, they're like, oh, fantastic. I would love to sit down with you and show you the process of how we help all of our buyers who we represent get homes in this market. If you're interested in doing that, here's my information. Would you be willing to share yours back with me? And we could set up a time in the near future when you're ready. I don't know what your timeline is. And just wait for them to tell you the timeline. They'll tell you, oh, well, like in the next 6 months, probably. Fantastic. Then let's do that. And then build a relationship from there. But if they don't want to answer you, then see ya. Like, keep going. Cold lead.
I explained to the one couple, like, if you call the agent on the sign, guess who they represent?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't my listing,
Mhm.
so I know, love to say this, but
Mhm.
I don't know, do you ever go down that path?
I don't, well, I'll be honest with you. I haven't held an open house probably 10 years. Not that you can't make money from open houses, because you can, right? You can and you will. If you're consistent and persistent, you absolutely will make money with open houses. If you set up your marketing on Tuesday, if you're door knocking twice that week, if you're inviting homeowners in the neighborhood to come 30 minutes early just for them so they can see the house, because they'd probably like to see other houses that are for sale in their neighborhood to compare them to their own, and you can find out if they're interested in selling too. Crystal's pretty good at that. She did that in my neighborhood and she got a listing out of it. So that's what you do. So being consistent on that's what makes the difference. So you do it like that, you will get business. So I'm not the agent that I've been doing this for so long and open houses don't work. That's bull crap. Everything works if you do it the right way and you act like a professional when you do it. Now, if you roll in Saturday at 11:55 on a 12 o'clock open house, and you didn't do any marketing, and you stick a little open sign in your cul-de-sac, and you go in that house and sit for 2 hours, I'm like, nobody showed up. I'm like, well, you didn't have any signs out there. You didn't put any marketing out. You didn't talk to anybody. Like, you can expect to get the same type of results of the work that you put in prior. So the preparation that you put in on anything is going to make the difference. So same thing on that. So that's what I would tell you on that. We need to save more money for a down payment. No, you don't. We have all kinds of programs we can get you with the lender. Yeah, how do you know? How much money are you wanting to save? Yeah, exactly. All right, yeah, have you even consulted on that? That's a great one. So who is your lender? Who told you that? They're a liar. Just kidding. You can help them. Like, some people still think they need to have 20% down to buy a house, and that's not simply true. Like, I don't want to pay PMI. I don't either, right? So there's a couple ways you can get around it, right? You can be a veteran. That's the long way around. Or you can put 20% down. And if you don't have 20% down, there's programs. You can do a single premium pay. If you put down maybe 15%, and you might pay maybe $1,000 and pay off the rest of the PMI, and you don't have it at all. And then obviously your PMI is going to be much lower when you put down a certain percentage too. So there's some different variables. So yeah, who's your lender? And get them with a lender that can help them with that. So don't act like you know everything on the lending side, because we don't. Just know enough to know the surface level to get them connected with somebody. But at the same time, Set up a consultation. I will beat on this table about that. Set up a consultation for every buyer inside of our office because it puts you in a safe environment, so you're a little more protected, and at the same time, you're a professional. It sets the scene for you are in charge of what's getting ready to happen next, so that you can have a professional conversation with them for about 45 minutes, and they can make a decision that they want to sign with you right there. So that helps tremendously. So, but again, great job on that. Get them with a lender. Have several lenders because lenders can do different things. Some lenders have different programs, and I want to use them. And I love using Todd too. He's great. Todd is awesome at thinking out of the box. I mean, he's like Houdini, right? If there's a way, he can figure it out financially. He will dig up overtime from 2.5 years ago that you worked on a Sunday afternoon that will qualify you to get this house. He can do that. He can think outside the box and do those things. And so Todd is great at that. Some other lenders, they have programs where they can get you a credit, and Todd can do MHDC as well. So there's different programs that different lenders can do. So go have coffee with these guys, find out what their capabilities are, and then find 2 or 3 that you like and work with those guys. All right, that's down payment. All right, we want to wait till after the election. Anybody got that one? Got that one? What did you say to them on that one, Christian? We want to wait till after the election.
Yeah, like you go before changes.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, finding out what about the election. Yeah. What I have found out, this has always been true, that every 4 years after an election, houses still keep selling. It's amazing. People keep buying and selling. No one's ever stopped, right? And there's never been a halt or something that's happened after an election that would prohibit people from being able to do that. What are you forecasting? What are you seeing that would happen that would keep you from being able to do this? Or what would be the change that would happen? And they're worried the election might not go their way, and they want to make sure they're safe, and they don't want to make a move. And that's okay if they're committed to that, and they truly feel like that. And I'll tell you a funny story. I'll tell you myself. So back in the 90s, when Stephanie and I were planning to get married, I asked her to marry me, and we were going to get married in March of 2000. Well, if anybody heard about Y2K, like the world was going to freaking end, right? And so she was so scared about this whole thing. And I'm like, whatever, it's fine. She goes, here's the deal, Ryan. She goes, if we're going out, she goes, I want to go out a married woman. I'm like, all right, what do you want to do? She goes, can we get married in October of 99? And I'm like, sure, I'm cool with that. And so we moved the wedding up 6 months into October and got married then because of that. So that's a valid thing. People will not do something, but if you invest in them and not make them feel silly about it, listen to them, and find out exactly what their points are, what would cause you to want to make a move? Well, if so-and-so wins the election, well, guess what? That will happen. And when that happens or doesn't happen, whatever, you can call them then. I had that same thing happen right after the election. And I mean, on Wednesday morning, I got a phone call from some clients, and they did not like how the election went. And they're like, we need you to come over and sell a house. And I'm like, okay, we're going to Portugal. And they left the country. And I'm like, cool. And whether I agree with them or not, it doesn't matter. It's not about me. It doesn't matter. I went over there and I helped them, and we made them a bunch of money, and we sent them to Portugal, and they have an awesome spot there, and they love it over there, right? And that's so cool. And that's their thing. And I'm like, I will help you do what you want to do because it's not what I want to do. So again, waiting until after the election, that's fine, or whatever the thing may be. Invest in the person enough to find out what's important to them. Take great notes on it. Put a reminder on it. Hey, okay, I'll call them Wednesday morning. Hey, how'd the election go for you? And you'll know right away whether or not you're getting an appointment, or like, we are never moving, we are building a bunker now, or whatever it is, that's fine. So
Say a few years ago, there were mostly objections, like money is bad. So what they meant by that is anything that is like an objection. I would tie this in there as well because they're talking about the economy.
Yeah.
Interest rates or prices to come down. Like that's all great. Obviously, money is very important.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more to that. So there's more levels you have to dig. So
yep.
Actually after the election,
mm-hmm.
What are you hoping that election? What do you
yeah.
that will change or not change?
Mm-hmm.
What prices come down? Is that so it's more affordable? You don't even like what is your budget? Like is it the down payment? Is it closing costs? Is it the interest rate that goes on?
Mm-hmm.
All those things you really don't know what they haven't been educated. They don't have
right.
real estate professionals that they talk to, lenders that they talk to
sure.
in the industry. When they say that stuff, really don't have a idea what's going on. So when they say stuff like that, make sure you like go 3 questions deep on
Love
it.
that. You nailed it right there. You took the words out of my mouth. Go 3 deep on these questions. And if you really want to get tricky with them, if it's a presidential election, then guess what? Go back to the last 4 elections and show them what the market looked like after the election. Show them the months leading up to it and the 3 months after the election and be like, the election was here. You can't tell, but it was right here. The world kept moving after the election. So again, asking those questions.
Maybe they have the election happens.
Mhm.
How soon are they thinking that changes are going to happen? It's not like flip switches today.
My clients thought the next day, which I was fine with, you know. That's right. And I actually talked to them prior to for like 6 months. Like they were prepping their house. They were ready. And as soon as it happened, they're like, we're out of here. I'm like, okay, let's go. And that's fine. What's that?
Are they the Warners?
Nope.
Oh, I know somebody else who did that.
Uh-huh. So we're not alone on that. Yeah, it was not the Warners. No, great people. I mean, these are good people. I've known them for years. I sold them that house, you know, but they had preference on what they wanted to see happen. That didn't happen. That's okay. I've lost before too, and it's okay. And you keep moving, and you can't throw down your tools and walk away. You have to keep going, and so that's what we're going to do. But if somebody needs help and something doesn't work for them anymore, then find out why it's not. Like Christian said, go 2 or 3 deep. What's the process here? What's going to cause this? And then help them get where they need to be.
Did you get a referral? Argentina?
Nah, they're renting there. They couldn't own property there, but it's super. Hey, if you ever want to move to Portugal, it's very affordable there. They live right there on the beach. They sent us some photos. I'm like, this is gorgeous. My God, and it's very affordable. And they'll live there. And she's from the Philippines. He's an American, but she's from the Philippines, and so you know, they'll eventually move again. But they just wanted to live there. So I'm like, cool. All right. They did it. So we want to wait till next spring. Does anybody get that in the fall? Like you go meet somebody and they're like, hey, you know what? We want to wait till next spring, right? And like, so how do we respond to next spring? Like, well, that's like 5 months away. What I like to tell people, I like to break the ice first, and not to be flippant or anything, but I'm like, I'm just going to let you know that we sell houses 12 months a year. So if you're worried about your house might not be selling in the fall, is that the reason why? Well, yeah, we just want to make sure we get plenty of traffic in the house. I'm like, okay, I can show you the statistics on that and the days on market. So you'll do is you'll pull days on market in October and then show them days on market in March. You know, what's the difference? Okay, we're talking about 8 days now. So 8 days is not a long time. Does that make a difference to you whether or not you want to be on the market? Well, we don't want to be on during the holidays. You ever get that one? Oh, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I get that. Like, you just don't want a bunch of traffic in and out of your house during the holidays. Is that it? Well, we just don't know that it's a good time and we got everything set up. I'm like, well, if you decorate for the holidays like you decorate your house now, people love that. It looks very nice. And depending on where you want to be, again, driving motivation, like where do they want to be? If they're not in a hurry and they want to wait till spring, fantastic, we'll wait till spring. I don't care. But if they would like to move now and you can show them that path, then just help them with that piece. But in essence, like the buyers that are looking, yeah, we have less traffic in the fall and in the winter for sure. December, January, and early February, it's cold. Not a lot of people want to get out and look. But guess the people that are actually out looking? Those people are highly motivated too. And so you may have less traffic, but you've got more motivation versus in the springtime, you'll have a bunch of, what do they call them, looky-loos coming through. And you might end up having more showings, but less actual offers. And depending on the house too, we've talked about that in team meeting. Let's say you're looking at a house that may not quite be dialed in. That might not be a bad time to sell it because they're not getting competed with all the newer construction or the newer houses coming on that have been updated. So again, less competition for them when they're on the market. And then they've got buyers that are highly motivated. And it's being recorded. We sold some dogs in the winter. So, you know, it can be done. If you price it right though, got to be priced right. We had one I didn't think we were going to sell. One showing, one offer, one transaction, and it worked. I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, but yeah, just getting it priced right always is my recommendation, or getting it adjusted to the right price very quickly. That'll help. But find out what their motivation, if they want to wait till spring or not, help them.
And in the spring too, you're dealing with a beast that you don't know. Like you know the market now. Like
Yeah.
they're
Mhm.
they're volume a lot.
We don't even know what's going to happen in the election, all right? You start making stuff up. All right, we want to attend open houses first. I think you should. I think you should learn the market. Let's do this. And I'll do this at the consultation. I meet with somebody, do a consultation. I will sign an agreement with them and I will turn them loose, because if they're not buying a house for 6 months, fantastic. We have 6 months to get you up to speed, learn the market, and understand what's coming on and how fast it's coming back off the market, so that when you are ready, which is within 30 days of you wanting to purchase, we'll actually physically get out and look at houses. In the meantime, I do want you to go look at open houses. So anytime you want to go to open houses, absolutely go. Here's some extra cards. And so when the agent's there and Stacy starts bothering you, you just hand her one of my cards and let her know you're working with the Fin Group. She'll leave you alone, I promise you. She's super sweet, but she'll leave you alone at that point. And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, go look at all open houses you want to. But you better get an agreement signed with somebody, because they will get poached out there. And now I say poached, not really, because you didn't sign a deal with them or you just signed an agreement with them. So get an agreement signed. And the best way to sign an agreement is to have a consultation right here in this office like a professional. Again, I will say that many times, because if you're doing that, you are capturing business at that point, and it's your responsibility to keep it and stay in contact with them. But if they're 6 months out, you're calling them at first like once a month. And then you're calling them as you get maybe within 3 months, you'll start calling them every couple of weeks and see if anything's changed. Hey, are we still wanting to do something? And then within 2 months, like, are we ready to start getting out and looking at houses? Has anything else? Again, we're looking for anything that changes. I had a referral come in from Lubbock, Texas, and I went and met them at Martin City Brewery. Found out they're Mormon, they don't drink, but I wasn't drinking that day either. So we just had pizza, and it was great pizza, great family. Sat down with them, learned a little bit more about them and what their needs were. They had 2 beautiful little kids, and they were looking for a 4-bedroom house, and they were in no hurry. I'm like, good. They're like, we got 12 months to look. I'm like, great. 8 days later, I get a text message at 8:30 on a Saturday night. Do you have time to chat for a minute? It's important. I'm like, what could be so important? Pick up the phone and I find out their needs had changed in 8 days. And I'm like, okay. And I wasn't exactly sure what they were exactly. I was trying to be polite. I didn't know them that well, but I'm like, what's going on? They found a new house. They were going through an open house. We'd already signed an agreement. They found an open house and we wrote up an offer on that open house. Come to find out, our client was expecting their 3rd child. They were highly motivated, and they're having issues with their rental that they were in as well, and they needed to get out of that thing. So we put them under contract. Like a month later, they closed on the house. It was fantastic. But again, things can change, but I wasn't expecting it 8:30 on a Saturday, but we did it anyway. So that's part of that. You do take calls at some weird times, but had I not picked up that call, things might not have gone that way. So again, trying to be available best I can. But yeah, if they want to attend open houses, make sure you get an agreement with them, send them with some extra business cards. Some people create these little passport things. They've called them passports, and you just show them to the agent that's holding the house open, and again, it lets them know who you are. But I love finding out, if I'm holding an open house, who they're working with, because then I just call Stacy. I'm like, hey, your client's dismissed. They came through. They didn't really particularly like this house, but they do like this neighborhood. So I just want to call, say hi, and let you know they're out looking. And you might be like, oh yeah, Ryan, they saw the house. I told them to go see it. Fantastic. Or you might be like, and I've heard this a lot. Oh, yeah, I didn't know. Like, they're out wandering around without you. You might want to call them and check in with them too. So, but it works both ways. But it's always good to know who the agent is, so that you can put the names together. Highly recommend it. We already have a lender. Fantastic. Use them. I'm not going to change somebody's lender. Like, I had a client come to me off a referral. I mentioned we do a lot of referral business, and they were referred to us by one family member, and then another family member referred the lender, right? Fantastic. Now, do I love this lender? Not as much as I love my other lenders, but they're getting the job done, and we're going to get to the finish line. But communication's not as high as I like it, and that's a little bit difficult at times, because I'm a big believer in talking to people, whether it's through email or talking to our team or whatever it is. Communication's got to be high so we know what's going on, so we can make adjustments. But if they have a lender already, do not take them away from that lender. Find out who that lender is. Call and introduce yourself. Obviously, let them know you're working with them so that they understand what's going on. But I never steer anybody away from that lender. Like, hey, why don't you look at these other ones? Unless I hear them say something to the fact like, man, I can't believe I've got a 9.75 interest rate with this guy, but he said he could figure it out. And he told me that you'd get me $15,000 in closing costs, on these houses, so I could buy the rate down and be all right. I'd be like, nope. So. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
They want to change, they can, but
They have a rocket, somebody out of town, somebody online. That does draw a red flag. I'm like, oh, how do you know these guys? And I found out that they were referred by somebody else. So when I heard that, that's great. But when I do hear that they got online and they just hit a couple buttons and here's my pre-approval, I'm like, that's fantastic. However, in this competitive market that we're currently in, if you want to get an offer accepted on a house that's just hit the market, which I feel like we'll be looking at several of those, it might behoove us to look at some local lenders because one, I can get in contact with them over the weekend if we need to get an updated pre-approval or get an answer. Or some of our lenders, and this really helps, they'll actually call the listing agent and introduce themselves, let them know how well qualified you are. And sometimes in multiple offer situations, that's what tips the scales when they have the confidence in the lender. And I can assure you, Rocket Mortgage is not going to call on a Saturday afternoon and introduce themselves. So you do want a house in this competitive market, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, here, call this guy. So that's what we do. But yeah, if they're referred to somebody, by somebody, then I definitely do not steer them by any means because you can get in trouble for that if you're steering. But if they are working with like somebody online and they don't have a relationship, they've never talked to anybody, I'm like, you should explore other options. Here are the ones that we have, and you just give them the list, and you're like, here's the ones we have, and let them call on those as well and get their pre-approval. So I do it. Shelby, yep.
About it too, about the lenders that they bring in. I did have this objection situation where a buyer's agent was working with the buyer that was pre-approved through some big corporate, but
It's okay.
And I said, is there any way they can go? Like I said, do you know this lender? She said no. And I said, well, is there any way you could ask them to at least call your local lender or a couple local lenders? Because it's kind of nerve-wracking getting into business with somebody that you call a number and you can't get directly to them.
Yes.
The lender never called and we didn't give them the house
Mm.
and the buyer got upset because he said, well, I want to work with that lender. I'm like, that's fine. You work with that lender, but I'm not getting any communication out of them. And they're the ones bringing the money.
Yep.
So
It's the only way we're getting the money is through them. So yeah. So we're really careful for our newer agents. Obviously, we don't steer people directions to do certain things. You probably learned that in real estate school. So we're very careful around that. However, we get paid to consult. We get paid very well to consult. And so if they don't have enough information yet, it's behoove us to introduce other information to them so they can at least take the opportunity if they choose to and let them know what they're up against in this market. It is our job to educate them with what's going on in the market and how difficult it will be to navigate this market should they go with somebody they don't have a relationship. And this business is, the longer you're in it, you will understand this business is about relationships, because with relationships, you build trust. And if you don't have trust or don't have a relationship with the lender, it makes it difficult. They don't find it necessary to get back to you for 2 days and you need something from them. It gets frustrating. And I'm like, you're getting paid on this too. And so I expect you to respond in a timely fashion. So yeah, don't steer people though. All right, we don't want to sign a buyer agreement. Well, what I find is, and our clients love this, 100% of our buyers that work with us are under buyer agreement. So they can choose to work with us or not. But this is the only time that I ask for the order is once I've sat them down. Have I mentioned I do consultations in the front of the office here in the conference room? I do that. And once I sit down with them, and I take them through, we have a little Candyland thing, how to buy a house. I take them through the whole process of how that works and all the steps. And we show the value of what we're going to do and how we're going to help them and the challenges and problems we'll help them solve. I ask for the order at the end. Would you like to work with the Fin Group at this time? Or would you like to hire me as your agent? I ask them that directly. And I just get quiet until they say yes. And they do. And not every time. I had one guy I asked like 7 times. I'm like, this is a game at this point, isn't it? I'm like, get out of my office. But for the most part, they will say yes, because again, they want to know that they can trust you. They want to know that you can help them and that you're qualified to do so. When you've proven that for 30 minutes in a conversation and investing in what they're wanting to accomplish, and you believe that what they're wanting to do is actually viable, then you ask them. Because what you do is if you get to that and they're completely out of bounds, and you've handled a few objections and course corrected on what the market looks like, if they're not willing to look into that or comply with that, then that's when you can also ask them to leave too. This might not be the market for you, or I might not be the agent for you. But what I can do is refer you to another agent that specializes in this type of purchase. His name is Jake Keith. He's right down the hallway here, and he can help you, right? And you go waste Jake's time, right? No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that to Jake. But again, if somebody's not realistic in the expectations that they're wanting to do, like that's just something we've got to take a look at. And so, but again, when you're in the office and you're doing that, you will prove your value when you walk them through the process of what it takes to buy a house in this market. And whether it's their first time buying a house or their third or fifth time buying a house, you show them how you can help them, they're going to hire you. But if they don't want to, you can ask them, why would you not want to be represented? Well, I can probably get a better deal if I just call the listing agent. Tell me about that. And have them tell you about that, right? And that's just what they feel. I'm like, well, they're not going to. They're not. I won't take you down that path, but yeah. Holy crap, it's 5 to 11. Look at us go. We're on number 10 of 40. So we're doing really good right here, right, guys? We're buying new construction. Congratulations. You absolutely can buy new construction. I can help you with that. Understand, same thing as a resale house. The listing agent on the sign is representing the builder. They're going to do a good job. They have a great contract we're going to sign with them. My job is to read that contract and make sure we uphold everything they say they're going to do in that contract while they're building your house. And we don't let them slide on anything. So you do want somebody watching your back, right? We'll do that as well in new construction. So, all right, we kind of handled that one. We're waiting for rates to come down. Yeah, we'll see you in 20 years. All right, see you later. All right, we want to price it high and see what happens. Well, I can show you what happens. Here's a listing that I took. It's been on the market for 300 days. They priced it high and they found out what happens. It doesn't sell. So I compare a lot of that to if you like things like that sit on a shelf too long, like potato chips or whatever, they get stale, right? People will pass those things over, or they have to mark them down to like $1 to sell them because you can't even sell stale potato chips anymore. So anyway, again, it becomes unviable. It becomes non-existent. They can't even see your house on the market anymore because new inventory is coming in and it's priced at a point that's agreeable to the market. And so they're looking and choosing and selecting those houses and buying them while you sit over here. And I can show you that because we can look at statistics online that show how many people are actually looking at your house, and you can watch it decline. And they're like, well, how do we get it to go back up? I'm like, oh, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. What we do is we make a price correction and we price it right, and we move it to this price selection. And so we do that, and then boom, it spikes back up. Oh my gosh, and people are actually interested again, but you have to move the price to get people interested in it. So again, that's the biggest thing, to see what happens when we price it high. Has anybody ever wanted their client wanted them to price it high and test the market or whatever? Certain markets, yes. I put it under contract yesterday. So yes, I'll talk to you about it as well. So Crystal and I have a couple houses right next to each other. And so it was a battle to see who could get under contract first. Actually, no, because we knew we had different buyers for these houses. She's got 2-story, I've got a reverse. And anyway, it took some time to do that. And our clients wanted to price it right at the top of the market. And I'm like, okay, we can do that. And this was January. So, and I looked down and, oh my gosh, it's July already and we haven't sold it yet. We've made a couple price adjustments, but still not getting to where we want, right? And very few showings on it. So again, there's some other factors. I'll talk to you more about that as well. But again, getting them to the right price is paramount. Do your homework before you meet with them. Have a price range which you feel like the house could actually sell when you meet with them. Show them where the house would possibly sell in that range. If they want outside that range, agree to the listing is fine, but get an agreement to where when they will adjust the price to get it in, I like to call it the kill zone. Sorry, that's the Marine in me, but get it in the right zone to actually get it to sell. Because if you don't get it in that zone very quickly, you're going to be out of bounds real fast and no one's going to see you. So you've got to make the adjustment. You got initial for a price. You can actually take a price reduction and date it for 2 weeks for where they'll come to if we don't get it under contract. I'll just go ahead and move it down that day. I won't have to bother you at work. You'll love it. It'll be great. Hopefully we're under contract with your price first, but just in case we're not, we'll make the adjustment. And that's the thing you got to do. You got to get it in the right price point, price range, like quick, within 2 weeks. If you're waiting 3-4 weeks, it gets rough, because what's going to happen is you're not going to get any showings, and then no showings, and then now you're fighting an uphill battle. So don't do it. Right, Crystal? Right? Yeah. We don't need to make repairs. You're damn right you don't need to make repairs. That's right. But if we price it right, it will sell. It doesn't matter what condition the house is in. And I tell people this all the time. If you would do me a favor, if you would have your house deep cleaned and sanitized, deep cleaned, that's the best thing you can do for a house because they may have limited resources. I don't have $10,000, Ryan, to get my house in order to put on the market. That's fine. But we just need to price it right. And the price range I feel like it will sell in is this price range for the condition of the house right now. And it's not bad condition, a little bit. It's not bad condition. We can still sell this, but this is the price range we'll be looking at. And so we just did that one last week and had that one. I said, we could go at 3 or 315, but you're pretty motivated for their situation. So you let me know what you want to do. They called me back like, let's go at the 300, Ryan. I'm like, good choice. So that's it. So again, don't want to do repairs, don't want to make updates. That's fine, but let's price it right. That'll overcome it. But clean the house. The house has got to be clean. A dirty house is nasty. We'll try it FSBO first. No, we won't, Christian. Your commission is too high. You ever hear commission is too high? People will call me. Remember when we decoupled the commissions, whatever that BS thing was, right? We did that a couple of years ago. And we said, no, we're not tied together. We don't have to tell you what it is. You got to play a guessing game now. I'm like, I'll tell you what I'm charging. And I had a client call me and she's like, what do you charge? And I'm like, I charge 3%. I said, I usually don't talk about commissions over the phone. I like to meet with you first and show you how we can help you. But 3% is what I charge. And she goes, oh, 3%, that's it? Come on over. I'm like, yep. So I get over there and I start breaking down how we're going to sell our house. And I show her that we charge our 3%. You guys charge whatever you want. You can charge whatever you want. That's right. I get over there and I show her like, hey, be prepared, that, when Shelby comes and makes us an offer with her buyer, Shelby's going to ask for 3% more than likely. She may not, but if she does, I want you to be prepared for that so that we can work these numbers out now and show you what you're going to make on the house. This lady did not like that at all. And she was there with her brother. And eventually after 20 minutes, he told her, he goes, look, sis, he goes, I think you need to do this. You're really hurting yourself if you don't list it this way. You're not going to get near as many buyers and we won't get the price we want for the house. He goes, is that right, Ryan? I'm like, that's exactly right. Thank you. And she's like, all right. And she moved forward with that. So, but you've got to be able to get in front of people and show them that. If you try to talk about commissions over the phone, be prepared to get locked out of that appointment. You probably won't get it, but show your value in person, not over the phone. A lot of people you can talk to them all day and they're not listening. Show them the data in front of them, put the numbers in front of them. It can help. Yes. Right at 11 now.
Christian, what kind of, how can you respond if another agent is refusing to pay the 3%? And say I have a buyer and I bring it.
Yeah.
And we made an offer.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. What a jackass. Yeah. So this is what I go. Well, here's the buyer agency that we actually signed. And if you look right here, we agreed to the fact that if I wasn't able to negotiate the 3% that I asked for when I help you buy a house, then I would ask for the remainder of it from you. And in this case, they're paying you. How much are they paying you, the listing agent? How much were they offering you? Not the 3%. Nothing? Zero zilch? Yeah, I had that happen before too, just this year actually. And I'm like, well, last time I bought land from you. Oh yeah, exactly. Well, they're not going to get full price that way, right? So what I would do is I'd send back another offer over and would look a lot like the offer without 3% attached to it, so you could get 3% from your client. That's what I would do. How long's it been on the market? Perfect. What a bunch of morons, right? They don't really want to sell their house. So again, I don't mean that really.
Seller give 2%, and so I contacted
Uh-huh.
my buyer and I was
Yeah.
like, well, we agreed, to 3, and
Yeah.
I said I'm not okay with 2.5,
Yeah.
and so they ended up rolling in
Mhm.
the other 0.5% in their loan. to
Yeah.
pay me.
And our clients did that as well. They paid us the 1.5 that I wasn't going to get. I negotiated finally from 0 up to 1.5. And then I asked my client, hey, will you make us whole, per our contract? Are you okay with that? These guys are pulling this move at this point, and obviously I want to represent you and help you through this transaction. This is the case. They're like, yeah, we'll do that, Ryan, no problem. And so just work on that. But somebody's been on the market since last December. That's it. So, all right, guys, we're at 11. I'll spend 10 more minutes with you if you have time. If not, you can bounce out of here. I understand that because I did not get through near as many. We got 5 more of these. I can go through a few more. Do we have time to stay? Yes. Okay.
Can I ask you-
Yes.
No, and I do. say, our agreement, if I'm the buyer's agent, our agreement, I get paid 3%.
Mhm.
Typically the seller pays that, but if they don't,
Mhm.
somebody has to pay me.
Right.
And, if we run into that.
Stacy's
we'll
getting paid.
adjust our Reporting.
Yep.
Accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
To your point. if
Thank you,
we
Shelby.
just got
Mm-hmm.
That offer can't be adjusted if it's highly
Mhm.
competitive. How, and I haven't had that happen to me yet, but how upset is your buyer that now, they really think they're not gonna
They really shouldn't be upset with you because they
Right.
agreed.
to pay?
And that's, I was just thinking when you said that was like when you have on there the 3% and you say, if we run into a situation where the seller isn't going to pay that 3%,
Hmm.
how do you plan on paying?
So I don't like to present it as a problem because that when you say, how do you plan on paying me?
Yeah.
That sounds like get your wallet open, right? So what I do when I do a consultation up front here in the conference room is I sit down and I tell them that. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, guys. I implore you to do it. Please do that because one, it just makes it simple. Coffee's free. Like it's very simple. Do it. But when we have that, and I said in the event that a listing agent or a seller does not want to compensate our brokerage, not me, our brokerage, because I don't get paid, right? Our brokerage does, and then our brokerage pays us, right? So in the event that that does not happen, I'm going to let you know before we make the offer. I'm going to find that out. Or if we don't have that conversation and we make the offer and they come back and say, yeah, we're not paying that, I'm going to let you know that right out of the gate. There's no surprises here. So we're never going to get to the closing table and be like, oh yeah, you owe me an extra 12 grand. That's never going to happen. So we'll have all that conversation up front before we even go to contract. So if there is a problem or a challenge that we got to get around, we'll talk about that first. And if we can't overcome that and I can't get the listing agent to pay us what we're asking, or the brokerage to pay our brokerage what we're asking for, then you and I'll have the conversation and we can make a business decision. We can make a business decision on whether or not we want to move forward on that, or we can adjust our offer down and offset that piece as well. It depends on that. Or you can figure out how you're going to pay me. No, just kidding. We don't ask them that. So just like put yourself on their side and let them know in the event that this happens. It doesn't happen often, but in the event that it doesn't, you and I will talk about that specifically and we'll just go through it like that. That's kind of how I do it at the consultation. So we want to interview more agents. Fantastic. If somebody wants to interview a bunch of agents, that's up to them, right? Can you stop them from doing that? Are you in control of them doing that? No, there's a few things that you can talk to them about. I'm like, fantastic. What about, what have we not talked about today that you want to talk about with other agents? They don't know. They don't know how to answer that. Okay, fantastic. All right. How many other interviews are you planning on doing? Like we're going to do, I had one client. We have 7 others that are set up. I'm like, you got to be kidding. So here's the question. Do you want to be first or last, right? Where do you want to be at in there? Always first, right? Why first, Steve?
You can ask them, why not me?
Well, exactly. I believe in being first, right? Because
I don't have my shirt on, but like, my other one is, I'll handle the other call, or I'll handle the other 9.
I'll handle the other 9. Is that from something else? I don't know if that
Well,
is.
hire me and I'll handle the rest.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Yeah. So that's exactly right. So you can ask them why they want to interview like 7 other agents. Hey, I could save you a lot of time today. Do you really want to interview 7 other agents that are going to come into your house for another 7 hours of your time, like over the next few days? And while you're doing that, you could be missing out on a buyer as well. I prefer, like, our team can go to work right now and start this process. We'll get photography set up. We can do all this stuff for you. Wouldn't that be great? And they looked at each other and like, I don't really want to interview 7 more people, and then they move forward. So it just depends on the process. But if they choose to or they want to, absolutely. And then you're like, okay, great. I'm going to walk out of this house without this listing. All right. Your percentage of getting the listing goes down to about 20% when you walk out of that house without it signed. So we have a little philosophy at Fin Groups: sign or die, right? That's it, right? You're going to sign or die, right? Well, what I mean by that is that we're going to close several times in that appointment. And in the event that it happens that they don't want to sign right then, that is okay. But what I would do, use AI, use several other listing questions that they should ask other agents when they interview them about their business. And you guys better be prepared to be able to know the answers to those questions as well. And so we created that when there was a lot of competition for business when I was going on listing appointments, and there were several people involved that I knew they were going to interview other agents because I sent them a pre-listing questionnaire and they told me they were interviewing other agents. Fantastic. So you grab that little form right there and like, hey, fantastic. Hey, when you do interview the other agents, ask them these questions. That'll help you make a decision on whether or not you want to hire them or you want to go with the best brokerage in the Cass County area that would represent you. Oh, did I say that we sold 800 houses in the last year? So anyway, so it's just little things like that you can help them with make a decision. So we want to wait till next spring. No, you don't. We went through that. Our neighbor's house sold for more. It's because it's better. No. So fantastic. I mean, it might be, well, which house is it again? Fantastic. Have you been in that house? Well, here's some photos that I pulled up from that house when it did sell. And it shows actually that house, that basement's finished. It's also 500 square feet larger than yours. But rest assured though, it's not about that. You're actually going to get more dollars per square foot when we sell your house, even though it is smaller. So essentially, you're going to do better than they did. And they'll be like, oh, okay. But it's how you present it to them is what makes the difference. But it's again, you just have to understand that you need to do your homework. You need to know about these other houses in the neighborhood. You need to be looking at all kinds of photography online of the houses that sold. If there's houses that are on the market, pop into the neighborhood 30 minutes early, an hour early, and preview those other couple houses real quick. Because if you've been in them, now you really know what to compare to when you get into this house, and you can see what's going on with that one as well. But if their neighbor's house sold for more, like, you need to know why. Why did it? Well, that's because Jenny, exactly. And you've got an avocado stove over there, and it's like, we can sell that too, right? We got one right now. It's got an avocado stove in it. So we need to net a certain amount. Fantastic. Tell me about what that looks like. What happens if you don't get that? Yeah, we find that out a lot. Well, I tell them the market, unfortunately, does not care what you want to net out of your house. So this is what we're going to do, though. I'm going to show you how you're going to net the most money out of the market. However, that number may not be obtainable. Is that going to prevent you from moving? And then check their motivation too. I like to go where they're going. The dream is where they're going. The house is the problem they have now that they have to sell, right? You're going to solve both problems for them, but put your finger back on the dream and point them to that and find out about that. And you'll find out if their motivation's high enough to want to move forward. Like, hey, if I brought you an offer on a $350,000 house that got you within $3,500 of full asking and you wouldn't take it, I didn't. So anyway, we'll talk about it Friday. So anyway, it happens, guys. Like, you got to check motivation. Well, regret will set in when things like that do happen. So if it doesn't sell, we'll rent it. Fantastic. How long have you been a landlord? Let me show you some pictures. Let me tell you a horror story about being a landlord, right? Do you have a lease agreement? I have a leasing company if you want to put it with them, and they don't charge too much. Like, again, you could take them through, again, it's a problem presentation. I'm going to deliver you what you're not going to want, right? And we had a client that turned his personal house into a rental and collected a check for 3 years and did not go back inside that house. I set up an appointment for us to go take a look at that house. And when I tried to get there, they pushed us off for 2 weeks to get in that house. And I called Tony. I'm like, look, Tony, I go, there's a problem here. I know there is. He goes, really? I'm like, oh yeah, there's a problem. And I said, you're not going to like it when we get in that house. And we got in that house and it had been completely torn up. And this is like probably 12, 14 years ago, whatever it was. It's a long time ago. And he had to put in like over $30,000 worth of work into this house for us to get it on the market. First, he had to get the renters out of there. And he's like, well, they were just sending the rent on time, so I never really thought of anything. I'm like, yeah, that's right. They were sending the rent on time. Did you ever raise the rent? No, because they were always on time, so I didn't. I'm like, so there's another business move you missed on right there as well. So, but there was just abysmal in there. So again, you let these people know, like, have you ever rented a house before? Do you know what renters do to your houses? How do you qualify your renters? It's just like a FSBO when they're selling. Like, how do you qualify the buyers that are coming in your house? You don't know who they are. So that's what that looks like. All right, that is the last one I have on this slide. We got another one like I could go through at another class for sure, but that took us 12 minutes past 11. I apologize. Thanks for hanging with me, guys. Any questions before we break this morning? I hope I rambled off something clever enough that you could write down and utilize with your client. The biggest thing I'll remind you of is practice these things, slow down, and listen to them. So if you know what to say already, then you can listen to the client and actually understand where they're coming from. Get their perspective, not yours, their perspective. And never tell them about you unless they ask you specifically. They don't care about you. Unfortunately, we're all lovely people, but they don't care about us. So don't do me toos and don't tell them about you. All right. But listen to them, find out what their motivation is, put your finger on that motivation and show them your value of what you can do to help them. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Mhm. I've got a couple minutes I can. Mhm. Mhm. Derek, right? Yeah, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
My office is right here. So if you ever pop in, have a question or whatever, if I can help out, definitely glad to. I'm on the sales portion. Obviously, I speak to people, and then Stephanie works, my wife, she runs the office. So she runs everything transactionally. So she makes sure I don't miss any inspections or appraisals, closing dates, anything like that. She's setting all that and running that side of the transaction. So I kind of separate myself from that so I can find more business. Is my goal is to locate the business and then get it under contract and negotiate it. So that's what that looks like. All right.
Perfect.
All right. Welcome to full time, right?
Yeah.
All right, man. Good luck. I have fired a seller. Yeah, absolutely. 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 I have. And you let them go with grace. I let one guy go. I was really sick and he did say some unnice things to me. And I let him know how important he was and the amount of money I was going to make from the selling his house because he told me how much that money was. And I told him that amount of money didn't matter to me. I run a really big business and you're not going to treat me like that. And I fired him. And because he told me to sell his house by the next day, I go, better yet, I said, I can help you today. And I sent him a cancellation. So I've done that before. Buyers, a little bit different. If they're demanding and wanting to get out, not motivated to buy, is that what your challenge is? And you're just sucking. Yep. I'm saying this this is a new term. If you heard this one, you got to be careful when you say this. They're clock suckers is what they are. And they suck your time. And that's the term. And so you've got to be careful with that. So I don't like to show buyers until at least I wouldn't be out with them until they're ready to actually make an offer within 60 days of closing. And then we're like full speed ahead, like as we get to 45 days to needing to close. And then at 30 days, like you've got my time. You got me 3 times a week at this point because we've got to get a house because something's happening. I've got to get closed by this time. But at 90 days and 120 days, yeah, we're not going to do much there. So if they're demanding your time like that, go back to how we consult with them and how we'll look at houses and when we'll see houses and when we won't see houses. Okay. Yep.
And has a low budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But he's a lender referral.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to screw this up. First referral from this lender.
Call the lender and let them know the challenge you're having. Okay, no, do it today and let them know, hey, thank you so much for the referral. I'm absolutely ecstatic that you would think of me to refer me business. We're up against some challenges, as you know, in this market with the average sales price working right around $409,000 in Cass County this month. I'm working with the buyers at $150,000. So that doesn't mean we can't overcome that. However, the amount of houses that we're looking at right now, we're up against some challenges. And then you got to do this. This is important. Tell your client no. You do not want to see this house. Good. Good. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
Everything, every one of the 49 houses we've seen that
Mhm.
basement failed.
Yep.
would put-
49. You're looking to break even on this sale at this point for your gas money. Yeah. So, oh, good Lord. You know, you can drive all the way to Melbourne, Florida from here. It's 1,200 miles. Yes.
So
Mhm.
that month or so ago, we had, about 3 weeks ago, we had a serious conversation when he told me
Mhm.
his brother has been looking for a house for 5 years.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you right now,
Mm-hmm.
I have never shown this many houses
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
client hasn't liked. We're not spending money.
Yeah. So I've actually had to pull a buyer back in for a reconsult and say, I sit them down. I'm like, I apologize. And they're like, what? I said, I've missed something and I apologize that I've missed something. And I get my little form back out and I start asking them questions again. And we go over that. Yep, I've missed something here. What do I need to change here? Because I'm missing something. I want to make sure. Okay. And then if your motivation's not high enough, then what we can't do is just go looking at one-offs. So what I would do, if you're interested and you want to buy a house once a month, I'll schedule a time with you and we'll set up 2 or 3 houses I'll go look at with you once a month. That's it. I'm not going to go out once a week or twice a week with you, but once a month you can get an appointment with me to go do that. And that's it. I would limit that. And every time you go into a house and he doesn't like something, then you start marking that on your list. And then when you start previewing other houses that he sends you and wants to go see, oh no, you don't want to see that one. That kitchen's just like this one. You can't, no, that's a no good. And then all of a sudden you're telling them no, and they're like, what? I can't go see this. Like, no, I'm not taking you to bad houses. You said you didn't want this. I'm not gonna take you and waste your time looking at, don't talk about your time, by the way, talk about their time. I don't want to waste your time. Oh, it's no trouble at all. I'm like, well, here's the thing. I only show the best houses to my clients. And now I understand that this isn't it. So I'm certainly not going to do that to you. And if they insist you do that, be like, look, this house is not a fit. I'm a professional. I understand that it's not. Well, it may be. I'm like, no, I understand what you told me. And this is it. Has that changed? And if they keep moving the target on you, then you just go ahead and let them go. Because if they change their mind, every day, then you sometimes you got to let them go. You got to. Hmm. And you're talking about a $4,500 commission. So, and and I help everybody. I'll sell dirt for 40 grand. I don't care, but I want to look for ready, willing, and able buyers. All right. Yep. And he's not. And you got to explain that to him too. I'm like, I don't think you're very willing right now in this current market. This may not be the market for you. Mhm.
We've looked at 7 or 8.
Mhm. Yep. And yep. And every time that something gets on a list and that something cannot be in the next house. And that starts eliminating everything. Nope, that one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. That one won't work. Remember that house you didn't like? Oh yeah, I hated that. Yeah, this one's got that too. And
I did eliminate
do that.
basements. I'm not gonna show you another.
I don't blame you on that one. Get on slabs and crawl spaces for sure. So awesome. Hopefully that'll help you. Sometimes we got to let people go with grace. Always do it. And it's not about, and I made a joke about breaking even at that point. I say that because I felt like that at times. I'm like, man, I've been working with this client for so long and ran my butt all over the countryside. I'm like, I'm just working to break even at this point, Did I tell you about that appointment I have on Friday? I'm just looking to break even at this point, right? And so it's like, okay, what do I need to do? And so you've got to make sure you're a little bit more direct with them and be okay telling them no. And I talk about no in the consultation when I first meet them too. I'm like, some houses may not be a fit. So trust me when I tell you that, and I might tell you no on some of them, okay? And they'll be like, oh, okay. So you can refer back to that again because people don't like to be told no and people want to be right. But what I don't want to do is show them a bunch of junk that they're not going to buy. And I felt like you feel like that at times, like, man, and also in that appointment too, I tell them like, hey, average I show houses to clients. They usually look at 5 to 7 houses before they make an offer. So don't be surprised if we jump into one. It could be the first one you might want to make an offer on. But if we go past 7, I've missed something. I know I have because I do this every day. Mhm. Yeah. Mhm. See if that helps. I don't know if it will. So Crystal, do you have time now? You want to chat? Okay. Yeah, I'll holler at you. Yep, you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Girl, right?
She's my girl.
So when you go into a listing and you said we flip it signed,
Mhm.
how do you go about that?
Oh,
Coordinator.
good question.
So I don't have to leave it, I'll send it.
Nope. So if you're 20, I'll send it to you per our conversation. But if you're 40, and even if you're 20, I don't care. I'm closing you right there. She sends me with paperwork and we're going to sign right then. Yep. On the listing. Oh yeah. I write it on there. Yeah, we're having a fluid conversation. Yeah, I've got the comps. I got everything on there.
Of every contract you need in your pocket,
Mhm.
or